The recent general strike in Israel marks a significant moment in what could become a long and drawn-out crisis for the Israeli state. The ongoing war in Gaza and increasing attacks against Palestinians in the West Bank by both settlers and the Israeli Defense Forces, otherwise known as the IDF, have not only sent political shockwaves around the world, but have also sparked some of the most intense internal conflicts among Israelis since the founding of the state 76 years ago. The general strike that we're seeing today was largely catalysed by the pressure exerted by the families of Israeli hostages still held by Hamas. In the last few days, the retrieval of 6 more bodies of these hostages has ignited a level of protest in Israel that we haven't seen before. While there's a general consensus that Hamas is directly responsible for the deaths of these 6 individuals, there is also a growing perception among Israelis that their own government shares some of the blame. The idea is that due to its stringence, the Israeli government has blood on its hands as well. Outside the far-right fringes of Israeli society, many believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu is intentionally prolonging the war with threats to escalate it by involving Hezbollah in the north and widening the conflict in the West Bank. The rationale behind this, as perceived by many, is that Netanyahu is trying to cling to power. He's currently facing corruption charges and possible jail time. As long as he can maintain his image as Mr. Security and stay in office, he can avoid prison. However, the growing opposition to his actions may finally be large enough to remove him from power. The numbers are staggering. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis went on strike. The head of the Israeli Trade Union Federation, the Histadrut, which is traditionally a strong supporter of the Zionist state, had to call for a strike due to the immense pressure from political leaders. But the truth is, the strike had already gained momentum before these union leaders even spoke up. In practical terms, few trains and buses were running. Ben Gurion Airport, Israel's main international gateway, was closed. Civil servants, teachers, healthcare workers, shop workers, university staff, and local government employees were all off the job. Even employer organisations backed the strike, though they're hoping it would only be a one-day event. The Manufacturers Association has accused the government of failing in its moral duty to bring the hostages home. Massive street protests are taking place, some of the largest in Israel's history, with main roads around Tel Aviv blocked. Even though the Israeli Labour Court declared the strike illegal on the grounds that it was political and set a deadline for it to end, tens of thousands of workers are defying the court's ruling. The anger over the deaths of the 6 hostages has created a sense of rage against the government, which is perceived as pursuing an unattainable total victory against Hamas, regardless of the cost. The ongoing conflict and the massive strike reflect the broader crisis in Israel. The bombardment and destruction in Gaza, which has resulted in over 40,000 deaths, mostly women and children, has turned Israel into a pariah state in the eyes of much of the international community. Even if some political leaders continue to support Netanyahu, the general public opinion worldwide is increasingly critical. Within Israel, there is a palpable sense of crisis. A relative of one of the recently killed hostages told the BBC that the 6 were part of a ceasefire deal offered by Hamas but declined by Netanyahu. The feeling among many Israelis is that more could have been done to save them. The far-right factions within Israel, including the settlers, are pushing policies that amount to ethnic cleansing. They aim to drive Palestinians out of Gaza into Egypt and to turn parts of the West Bank into another Gaza. This approach is reflected in the unprovoked attacks, or pogroms, carried out by settlers on Arab villages. Even Israeli security forces, the IDF, are implicated in these actions. The IDF has been bombing refugee camps in the West Bank, reminiscent of the military actions in Gaza, albeit on a smaller scale. The policies of apartheid and ethnic cleansing are an unsustainable illusion. They offer neither peace nor security for Israelis, nor justice for Palestinians. The ongoing strikes and protests are a sign that more Israelis are beginning to see this reality. As the situation unfolds, it's clear that the Middle East remains a tinderbox, and without a change in policy and a recognition of Palestinian rights, the region will continue to be unstable.